April 1st. Many of us are familiar with this day, when people play practical jokes on one another and yell, April Fools. Sometimes the jokes are played for laughs, others, it can hurt. Companies can also get in on the act, releasing quote-unquote new releases on something, only for it to be a prank. Not surprising, Sega is one of the companies participating in this yearly event, given the constant fan engagement. This brings us to March 31st, 2023, the day before April Fools. Sega shadow dropped what appeared to be a new Sonic game called The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Of course, many fans were skeptical given the timing, but it turns out this is a legitimate game released exclusively on Steam for free. Only, it's not a platformer. Sort of. We'll get to that. Instead, it's a point-and-click visual novel in which we have to solve the mystery of, well, Sonic's murder. Naturally, I downloaded it and played it. And now I'm going to share my experience with all of you. Because of the nature of the story, there will be major spoilers. You've been warned. Instead of playing as one of the familiar Sonic characters, we play as a new employee on an advanced train called the Mirage Express. So advanced, it has robotic arms to maintain the train. So what is our job anyway? Well, our job is to be server to the guests in the dining car and make sure they are well taken care of. Which boils down to, we're just gonna microwave their food. Anyway, said guests just happen to be Sonic and his friends. They're here to celebrate Amy Rose's birthday. Now that I think about it, this game was released in 2023, which marks the 30th anniversary of Sonic's CD. Coincidence or deliberate? Anyway, back to this game. You may notice that our familiar characters are wearing different outfits. Part of Amy's birthday celebration involves role-playing the classic murder mystery on a train scenario. Tails and Amy are the neutral party, as they play detective and reporter respectively. Sonic is the captain, Knuckles is the sheriff in a saloon, Vector is a butcher, Espio is a poet, Blaze and Rouge are business opportunists, and Shadow is a locksmith. Each character is assigned a designated car during the game. For the moment, we, the player character, are merely observing the events. That is, until the train without warning speeds up, knocking out Tails, Amy, and myself. The three of us wake up trapped in a closet, and it's here where we get our tutorial on the gameplay. Essentially, we become Tails' assistant as we look around for clues and accusing someone of behaving strangely. In this case, Amy came around first and was trying to break us out before we wake up, but her hammer broke in the process, and she's embarrassed by it. As with any point-and-click game, you move the mouse all around the room until something of interest is highlighted. Then you click on it. If it just happens to be a much-needed clue, it'll be placed in our inventory. By the way, there's a running gag of me checking for clues in a trash can and finding nothing. This will pay off as we look for clues in the other cars. Once we find enough clues, Tails will prompt us to interrogate the person. When presenting the clues to the accused, we're asked to explain ourselves, and this leads us to a platforming sequence known as Think. The idea being we, the player, must think like Sonic in order to gain the confidence to directly confront the suspect. We play as an imaginary Sonic going through a platforming sequence where he has to collect enough rings while at the same time avoiding obstacles so that we can drum up a proper response. In a way, they're kinda like special stages. I do like the aesthetic of the Think sections. Reminds me of Sonic Labyrinth, combined with those auto-running mobile games like Sonic Dash. And the quote-unquote system you play on, the Dream Gear, is reminiscent of the Game Gear, only pink. There is a downside to these sections. They require the arrow keys and the spacebar to complete, and depending on how good you are with the keyboard controls, they can range from easy to difficult. Thankfully you have infinite tries, but if you don't want to deal with the stress of this kind of platforming in a visual novel, the developers wisely put in options that will make the experience a non-issue, such as invincibility, no bottomless pits, and adjusting the ring quota. After getting out of the closet and heading back to the dining car, we discover who got murdered on the train. And try not to be surprised, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. As Amy and Tails head off to properly start the game, we take a good look at Sonic to see he's been roughed up to the point that he apparently died on the spot, all while doing the Peter Griffin lying on the ground pose. Oh, things just got real. Time to find out how this happened to him. So we team up with Tails to gather enough clues to verify people's alibis. Amy's gone ahead to verify her own theories based on some information she's received. Our journey takes us through the various train cars, with Knuckles in the saloon, Vector and Espio in the library, Blaze and Rouge in the casino, and Shadow in the lounge. As we interrogate the suspects, we learn some things about our characters. Knuckles turns out to be a sore loser as he destroyed a Super Monkey Ball arcade cabinet after Vector's beaten his high score. Rouge has been looking for a Fabergé egg aboard the train, and Blaze is in on the scheme. We actually help the two go through the heist in the casino car. Shadow's being all secretive and locking doors, taking his role as a locksmith too seriously. It's because he's secretly getting Amy tickets to her favorite band as a last-minute birthday gift. And Espio claims to be reading books so that he can really get into his role as a poet. It all comes to a head in the conductor's car, where Sonic was supposed to be stationed until he was murdered. One of the major clues found there was a blow dart, along with a severed robot arm. It is here that the murderer is revealed. Okay, I'm doubling down on the spoilers, so leave now, play the game, and come back later, okay? You still here? Well, I warned you. Sonic's murderer is Espio. Here's how you can tell. His main hangout is the library, where all sorts of stuff is located, like blueprints to the train, and the train manual, which has been hastily placed back onto the shelf. Normally the books are in alphabetical order. By the way, Rouge took the blueprints to look for treasure after Espio glanced at it. There's also a hidden passageway that goes between the library and the lounge, making it easier for Espio to ambush Sonic. And remember Amy's leads and theories? Well, it turns out she was deliberately being misled by Espio. Then there's the dart. Espio says he only used it on Sonic because he believes he was following the rules of the game. Here's the thing, the train's not supposed to let any weaponry on board. It's been emphasized a number of times in the game, such as the train refusing to let Vector carrying a butcher's knife on board, and during the Fabergé egg heist, when the group tried to open it, it started ticking like it was going to explode. It turns out it was just a scare tactic because, again, no weapons are allowed on the train. Then why is a dart full of knockout juice and a blowgun allowed? And most importantly of all, they were provided by the train itself. That's when Sonic recovers and explains the situation. He and the conductor noticed something odd about the train and discovered it was powered by a flicky, meaning it's a badnik. That's when the robot hands abducted the conductor, not helped by Espio showing up with the blow dart moments earlier. He was able to hit Sonic and leave before the Hedgehog could warn anyone. Still, he was able to defend himself a bit before the dart's effects fully kicked in. Sonic wound up in the dining car because of the track the robot arms used that runs along the train ceiling. Going back to the train being a badnik, that can only mean Eggman. In a clever move by the Doctor, he secretly converted some cargo trains into passenger trains with high intelligence, and once Sonic and or his friends boarded one, it will take them straight to Eggman. As an extra incentive, the train would be granted a reward for turning in Sonic and his friends. What would a train want anyway? Well, at the start of the game, the conductor reveals that this would be his final run before retiring with his wife. The train, though, did not like the idea, and hoped that by turning in Sonic, it would have the conductor by its side forever. There's kind of a tragic element behind this. Based on their brief interaction in the beginning, it's clear the conductor and the train had years of history behind them. Even after the train's true allegiance is revealed, it still tries to justify its reasoning for wanting the conductor to stick around rather than having him retire. And when it's finally defeated, you kinda have some sympathy for the train here. By the way, defeating the train involves gameplay similar to the Think sections, only this time we play as the real Sonic. This leads to Sonic hitting the train enough times for Espio to rescue the Flicky inside, earning him some redemption in the process, and finally, the birthday girl herself delivering the final blow. Odd that the train did not detect her hammer. Despite the tragedy of the train, Everything works out. The conductor reunites with his wife, Sonic gets Amy a birthday cake for everyone to enjoy, Eggman wallows in defeat yet again. Oh, hi Sage! And as for the player character, well, for me, I decide to stick with the job, win the lottery, and eventually travel into outer space. There was clearly love put into this game, as some of the creators expressed on social media. You can see it with the character designs, the character interactions, and the music, which is fitting for the murder mystery aspect of the game. There's also some Easter eggs sprinkled throughout, such as Ian Mulcher's Sonic Forces character, Ian Jr. popping up here and there. Makes sense due to his involvement. And there are references to Spagonia and Professor Pickle, with the portrait of the latter hanging out in the library, and the conductor and his wife planning a trip to the former. There's more, but I don't want to give too much away. And one more thing. As for its placement in the canon, well, it doesn't contradict anything that's established so far, so you can easily slide to someplace after the events of Sonic Frontiers, given all the Sage references. But personally, I do wish this is canon. It's nice to see the characters in a smaller stakes story, just relaxing and having fun. So yeah, if you want to play a fun little story about Sonic and his friends in a whodunit situation, pick up this game. Again, it's free on Steam. It may be roughly a couple of hours long, but there are some replayability elements to it, such as your choice of dialogue. Not bad for an April Fool's Day celebration.